Hello, law teachers, and welcome to Learning is Not Quiet presents the CLOZE 5-paragraph essay. Today, I am going to talk about specifically how I use this CLOZE style introduction to writing the 5-paragraph essay in my classroom. It's intended for really grade 5, but can be used maybe in grade 4. And if your students are really struggling with the structure of the 5-paragraph essay, they can use it in 7th grade. Note that the prices of this product are subject to change over time. So with that, I'm going to talk about in this video some of the strengths of this product, some of the pitfalls you want to avoid, as well as some ways to differentiate and extend on this to meet the needs of all of your learners. So with that, let's get started. If you're watching this video, it's likely because you have purchased or are interested in purchasing this CLOZE style introduction to writing the 5-paragraph essay. If you have not seen this or are not familiar with my Teachers Pay Teachers store, be aware that links are found in the description to this product and other products you may enjoy. So the first thing I do with this CLOZE style introduction to the 5-paragraph essay is I have students brainstorm what they enjoy. And you can see there's a graphic organizer that we do this. Another way that I like to do this is with this kind of writing on sticky notes activity. And so for this, what you do, it's just kind of like a brain dump. You can take, and to be environmentally conscious, you can go to your scraps bin in your copy room, cut them up into a bunch of scraps. Doesn't mean that they all have to be the same size. If you have access to sticky notes, that can be fun too. Students write as many things that they can think of that they enjoy doing on sticky notes, and they write them all over the place, and then they categorize them together and they come up with all kinds of ideas. Obviously, they're not going to use all of those ideas in their writing, but this exposes them to different ways to brainstorm and also helps them to think more complexly about it. Now, another way you can do it is have students think about their favorite activity and then think about all the things that they can think of, a brain dump about that activity. So you're going to see in a second that my example 5-paragraph essay is about snowboarding. So I would do a brain dump on snowboarding versus the person next to me might do a brain dump on hockey, whatever it might be. That was a very Michigan set of examples there. So you see, this is one of the ways to brainstorm. This is another way to brainstorm with a graphic organizer. You can, of course, use both and have students take the sticky notes and kind of organize it into this graphic organizer. So once you're done with that, you want students to engage with an example snowboarding Mad Lib style essay. And why I call it Mad Libs is because it's really a sentence frame, but nobody wants to do a sentence frame essay. They want to do a Mad Libs essay or CLOZE style essay. And what this is I wrote the format for how to write this 5-paragraph essay, and then I filled it in myself with what I enjoy doing, which is snowboarding more than almost anything. And so you see here, I use a hook and all of these different things, and I follow that format exactly. If you want to be super motivated, you yourself can take that CLOZE style example and write your own hobby into this as an example for your students. So just whatever works best for you. Students read this to themselves. I then usually, especially with younger students, read it out loud as they follow along with their finger. I then kind of have them work independently or in pairs to identify these different aspects of the essay, such as the hook, the thesis, introductory paragraphs, body paragraphs, concluding paragraphs, and topic sentences. Also, as part of this, I do a brief notes where I directly teach students, as you see below, where students are writing definitions about hooks, theses, topic sentences, and all that kind of stuff. Okay, so once we're done with that piece, students start working on this CLOZE 5-paragraph essay. Now, the big pitfall with this, the big thing you need to be aware of is that students will finish this at very different rates. I have used this in my classroom for 6 years, maybe more, and students finish this at very different times, and that's unlike any other activity I really do in my classroom, especially since I do this in the beginning of the year when students are still figuring out my expectations, who they are as a writer, and we haven't really gone through all of these things as many times. So some students will literally finish this in an hour or less. Like they sit down, one class period, they knock the whole thing out. Some students will be working on their rough draft with the CLOZE style for over a week. You really want to push those students to move a little bit faster, and you really want to push the students who are speeding to finish to really think about their language, elevate, especially in their second and third drafts. So what that looks like is it gives the students exactly how to fill this in. So quote about your favorite hobby. This quote was said by blank as he or she blank. I began blank hobby a blank amount of time ago when I like this quote because blank. If you enjoy blank, then you would also like blank, and then your thesis. So that's kind of how the introduction paragraph works. Obviously, the body paragraphs are a little different. One other thing to do is after the students write this rough draft in the closed style, you can stop there and say, okay, this is enough. We're done. We're moving on to other writing activities. If you want to keep going over this, you can have students write a final draft. And in that final draft, I try to get them away from having to follow those specific Mad Libs directions. So if they don't want to use a quote and they want to use a different hook, they're totally welcome to do that in their final draft. They have the freedom as authors to do that. But having this structure available to them takes away some of that fear and gives students the power to write a 5-paragraph essay without really having to freak out and understand and generate this whole concept on their own. So that's one thing. Another thing you want to avoid is my first 2 years that I did this. I am a big believer in writing conferences where you sit down with a student, you read their writing, and you talk about the strengths and weaknesses. Highly recommend not doing writing conferences on this particular writing just because it's so structured that student after student after student's essay is very similar and it gets very, very tedious towards the end. And I just think that it's better as a separate activity. Obviously, do what's best for your students, but I have found that doing writing conferences with this activity is not as helpful as creative writing, independent writing, and other 5-paragraph essays that we're going to do throughout the rest of the year. This is literally just to set them up for success, get them introduced to the idea of a 5-paragraph essay, and be successful at writing their own 5-paragraph essay about themselves from the beginning. Another way that you can extend on this, if you really are sure that you have certain students who are head and tails above everybody else, is give them a more basic outline of what you want and have them ignore the closed style and write this independently. So that's kind of an overview of this product. If you enjoyed this product, be sure to check out other Learning is Not Quiet products, such as this Battle of the Bacteria. The report for this particular lab experiment is also closed style. So if you really liked this kind of paragraph, the way it's laid out, be sure to check this particular activity out. There are also all kinds of reading and writing strategy bundles, my 5th grade Common Core, every reading standard bundle, and so much more available on Teachers Pay Teachers. Check out Learning is Not Quiet. Thank you so much for joining me, for training the next generation of readers and writers. I admire you so much and hope that you stay loud and awesome. Adios.